Hello and welcome to Metal Vice, a podcast where we talk about all things music.
Well, the things we care about.
Right, which is mainly metal music and live music. Today's going to be a little different, though. We're going to talk about our time seeing Jack White at the Twisted Xmas show here in Chicago on December 8th, 2022. This was put on by Q101, which is a local radio station here in Chicago.
Yeah, I think they play like alternative rock.
That's what it said under, Q101 Alternative, or Chicago's Alternative, or whatever their tagline is,
Yeah. I've never listened to them or listened to any radio station here in Chicago, to be honest.
Right, but they put this on Twisted Xmas or Twisted Xmas. This was night 2 of 3, actually. They had one the night before, or a couple nights before, and then they had...
Yeah, I think that was Bad Bunny is the first night.
Beach Bunny.
Oh, Beach Bunny, excuse me.
Yeah, so it was actually...
It was the 7th. It was Thursday.
It was the 6th. Tuesday the 6th.
Okay.
Because ours was Thursday the 8th.
Okay. So we went on Thursday.
Yeah, so on the 6th, on Tuesday the 6th, it was Portugal the Man, Bob Moses, and Beach Bunny. Headliner Working Your Way Down. Thursday the 8th was Jack White, Wet Leg, and then Starcrawler. And then Friday the 9th was the 1975.
Yep. I'm going to be honest. I've only heard of Jack White, I think, out of all these bands.
I think so, too. I think so as well. But these were all at the Aragon Ballroom. The price for this one for night 2 was $70 plus $20.13 in fees / tax. When you look at the fee structure, it has its own line item for tax, $1.60 for tax there, times 2, 1 for each ticket. Which I thought was weird because then right below it, there's another line item for $7 in tax. So I don't understand why there's...
Taxing.
Yeah, I don't understand what the double tax here is.
I wonder if one is like Illinois tax and then one is Chicago tax.
So yeah, $70 for a ticket, $20.13 plus another $7 for tax. So $27.13 in tax and fees. So about 40%, right?
Yeah.
Again.
Yeah, which is what we've been paying at Aragon. So
Right. And it's a Live Nation venue, Live Nation event. So yeah.
Yep.
The venue, like we've been here several times now, and not a whole lot changed between this and the last time. We just saw Amon Amarth there, like a week before, 2 weeks before?
2 weeks before, yeah.
And at Amon Amarth was the first time I had a pleasant experience with the venue as a whole. And that trickled over, continued on through this experience too, I would say. Getting through the security line was super quick and simple like it was for Amon Amarth. They did have a lot more decorations up.
Yeah,
like
I was gonna say a lot changed with the venue, but they had it decorated for Christmas.
They had it decorated for Christmas, right? Yeah. There were a lot more. This was one thing I did notice. There were a lot more stands along the aisleway as you go up towards the main floor.
Yeah, I think it was promotional.
Right. So they had Slain Whiskey giving out samples. White Claw was there giving out samples. Heineken was giving out their 0% alcohol drinks and whatnot. A few other vendors here and there.
Well, there was 2 photo op opportunities, one by Heineken and then one was just Christmas.
And then
or whatever.
Yeah, and then they had a silent auction for framed posters for every night of the week.
Yep.
Or for all 3 of their main shows.
Yeah, we didn't ever scan it, but I wonder if it was you won all 3 or if it was you bid on each one separately. I never scanned it to know.
That's true. I don't know. I didn't. I assumed it was all 3, but I could see it as 3 separate auctions for each one.
Yeah. And then that went to some charity. I forgot.
Oh, did it?
Yeah. Again, I didn't even think to write down what it was, but.
So that was interesting. You normally see maybe 1 or 2 booths of people, of not promoters, but the people who paid to advertise there, or they're helping sponsor type thing, are usually down there.
Well, you said that you've seen a Byline Bank booth before.
I have seen that there before.
And then I've always seen the VIP booth, except for this night I didn't see that.
It was a table selling upgrades to VIPs.
Yeah, which this could have been sold out, so that might be why.
Right. Coat check was perfectly fine, just like it was last time we were there with Amon Amarth.
Yeah, maybe they fixed that from 2019 when you went or something.
Maybe it's just more organized now, where they have, it's more like it's people understand now. You go on the left side of the handle rails going down, and then left side as you're going up, just making it flow simpler.
Yeah, yeah.
Plus the last time, I can't remember if they did this time, they had somebody up there at the top basically directing, saying, go down on this side, people coming up on, like, enter this side, exit this side thing. So, I mean, maybe that has helped as well. But, I mean, like I said earlier in the year, I think it was with when we saw Lamb of God, like, during that podcast, I was saying, like, this venue is just one or two things away from being an excellent venue for me.
Yeah.
And that was coat check and the security getting in.
And they fixed those.
Both of those things, yeah. At least it's 2 times in a row now that it seems to be resolved and working good. But, yeah, I don't know. It was... they've improved those 2 things, and hopefully they continue to keep it going, because I do like this venue a lot as a venue. It was just those 2, getting in and getting out of the venue, that sucked and would put a damper on, like, the night. And that would usually be the thing that I would get hung up on and not necessarily forget the show, but be pissed off about those little things.
It just makes you angry to begin with, so then it takes a little while to get into the music and everything. I think it's going to be even better when the CTA finally gets the Lawrence stop fixed or redone or whatever they're doing, because right now the Lawrence stop is shut down, so you either have to get off at Wilson or Argyle. And
one before or one after.
Yeah, so we've always got off at Argyle, but this time we kind of noticed Wilson might be a little bit better.
Just a closer walk, probably.
Yeah. I wonder if it really is closer or if it just seems like it. But
But going home, it might be better to go to
Argyle,
the second one, the one away, because, I mean, it's the same thing with Wrigley. You go one away from Addison, one north. That way you're missing all that heavy traffic, but I don't know.
Every time we've gotten on the train to go home, there's not... I mean, it's not, like, packed, like, after Wrigley.
That's true.
So it's not bad at all. So, I mean, getting to the venue is pretty simple, which is also a plus whenever you're trying to... Well, for us, because we use CTA. Now, if you're driving, I don't know how the parking situation is or how the situation is for that, but...
So, I mean, yeah, like I said, I'm starting to like this venue a lot more now that they fixed those 2 things, or they've gotten a lot better at those 2 things. So.
Yeah.
So I'm happy about that.
Now they need to fix the merch to
Why?
give actual lines with merch.
Oh.
Because it's kind of frustrating because you're standing there and then somebody walks in front of you and it's like, I've been standing here, but I mean.
So that did happen to us when we were standing in line, right? Like a guy walked in front of us,
but it's happened every single time.
And we did the same thing then, because we were in line to get merch. The guy walked in front of us, and there was an open slot, like, right over to the side of us. So we walked over to them and said, hey, we'd like to get a poster. And then she was like, oh, that's a separate line over there. And then I think we walked in front of people the same way the guy did. I think he did the same thing we did, of, like, we're using one line, told to go over to this line, and then it is sort of like a clusterfuck, like you said, where
that's what I mean by they need to fix it. It's just...
that's more on, I think, the patrons than it is them. I think where the merch is, it's like a really good spot.
Yeah, I'm not saying anything about, like, where the merch is or, like, anything. It's just the lines.
Yeah.
Like, need more defined lines.
There aren't any defined lines. And the thing is, because people just walk up, take a look at what they want, and they stand there and talk about it instead of, like, making a decision. And they're just kind of like, oh, I don't know what I want. But, I mean, yeah, it's a little frustrating at times.
Yeah.
But, I mean, yeah, that's one little improvement that could be made also, is just morally, in your eyes, better merch experience all around.
Yeah.
And the other thing I did notice with the venue this time, and we touched on a little bit with the amount of booths down on that main floor of, like, White Claw and Slay and Heineken all having, like, little booths that they were handing out samples and whatnot, right? Is you would then go up to the main floor, and behind the band was like a screen that they were projecting onto. And, like, the center part would rotate out images, and, like, I think they were doing Twitter feeds, like, if people did hashtag Twisted Xmas.
Possibly.
They'd pull your things up and put them up there. They pulled videos up and put them up there from, like, audience members in the crowd. But on either side of that, sort of on the left and right side of the screen, was sort of a Q101, Twisted Christmas, White Claw logo, Heineken logo, Slain logo, like just ad all over the place.
Yeah.
And it made me kind of chuckle because it was like, oh, this is, you got to remember, this is a radio station's concert. There's going to be ads. And it made me just feel like this is radio in real life because you get a little bit of music and you get a fuck ton of ads, then a little bit of music and a fuck ton of ads, and a little bit of music and a fuck ton of ads.
Yeah, like between all the bands they played. Is that what you're talking about? Like between the bands they played their whole like...
Well, even between the bands, but for the first band, Starcrawler, they at least had the two side banners of the stuff. And I can't remember what was in the center, if it was their logo or anything, but it was, Heineken, Slain, White Claw, all of that along the sides of those two things.
I didn't notice that much during the first band.
Yeah. The first band, I just pulled it up. They just had Q101 Twisted Xmas in the center with like the snowflakes falling down.
Oh, I remember that now. Yeah.
And then on the left and right of it
was
were all the logos of their main advertisements. Byline Bank was one of them up there, obviously, because it's the name of the venue.
Yeah.
But I did notice that, and it kind of made me smile and be like, this is essentially radio in real life now, right? It's, like I said, music ad. So
yeah.
So I don't know, I thought that was funny. And then like in between every band, they'd come out and, some radio personality would come out and be like, I'm so-and-so, I do this block of music. We're so-and-so, we do the morning show. Give it up for our sponsors.
Yeah.
And then throw like merch out and whatnot. They'd be drinking like, here, this is a White Claw I'm drinking. It's really good. You should try one type thing. Like all that stuff you would expect from a radio. So I just, like I said, made me smile to myself.
It isn't something that we normally see like when we go to concerts of like all the advertisements for the concert, unless you're at a festival, because they have that, like a festival's like up on the side of the stage. They always have like their advertisers or whatever, like when between bands. But it's not something you see at a normal concert. I guess you could consider this a 3-day festival.
Sure. In a way. I mean, it's definitely much smaller. It's like just a normal concert each night. But you're right. Like I was thinking the same thing watching this. This show is, you don't see that often. But then I was trying to think like, well, open air. They had some stuff. They also had the main thing I remember. I don't remember all the ads, but there were some. I definitely remember there were some. Was the Metalocalypse style cooking show they had going on. So yeah, you definitely get some, especially festivals, like you're saying. Like there's a lot more. I'm trying to think of the average show we went to, if you do, and I can't think of any. The only one that maybe that did that I can somewhat remember is just, and I'm only remembering this because of the name, is the Jägermeister tour. Jägermeister would have been a big sponsor, and there would have been Jaeger shit all over the place.
I don't remember them having screens, so I don't think.
I mean, that's also like 15 years ago, right?
Yeah.
So.
I don't know. I don't remember them having screens, but I'm sure they had signage and stuff probably.
Yeah, signage for sure.
Yeah.
I did think the screen was kind of cool for a different approach, like having like a projector behind the band and then you can project shit up there.
Yeah.
It worked really well when we talk about Jack White. It worked really well for Jack White. It was it was actually like a Jumbotron type screen that some bands have up.
Yeah.
Maybe that's more of an apt way to describe it, is sort of like the Jumbotron screen. The only difference is it's not super high above. It's like directly behind the band.
Yeah.
Where typically that's just the banner with their logo and shit.
Yeah, but it's also how the stage is set up, where you can't really have it like super high up.
That's true. It is a smaller venue.
It's not like a arena type stage. It's more, it's just a regular stage.
Yeah. So I did enjoy that. I did enjoy some of the imagery they put on there. In between the bands, there also was a lot more advertisement for smaller contributors. I think there was like a couple colleges that were up there.
Oh, okay. I didn't notice that.
And whatnot. But yeah, the venue was, like we said, it was decorated for not Halloween, Christmas, and it was kind of cool to see. It was kind of cheery.
I liked that. I liked the walk in and have all the Christmas decorations. I thought it was fitting for the. I wonder if they keep it up until like for all the shows until Christmas, or if it was literally just for this Twisted Xmas.
It may have just been for this Twisted Xmas.
It could have been, yeah. I don't think we don't have any more tickets for this venue for the rest of the year, so we won't know. But it was kind of cool to see.
Yeah, it was just a new, unique thing. This also made me think if we'd ever seen a Q101 show before, and a part of me was like, I think we have.
When?
And we've seen quite a few, actually. Well, not quite a few. I've seen. This is our third total, so not a lot, but we've seen a few.
Or just you?
A little bit of both.
Okay.
First one was the picnic festival that they put on every summer.
Oh, is that the one that when we saw Lumineers?
Yep, out in Tinley Park.
Okay, the first time we went to Tinley Park.
So, like, we didn't realize that was a festival. We ended up buying VIP tickets for that on the secondary market.
They were like super cheap, like $25.
Yeah, it was crazy cheap for how, like, I didn't think they were even VIP until we went to the doors and like, oh no, these are VIP. You need to go over here.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay. And that just got us like into the lounge and up into the box seats.
Yes, yeah.
For that, and it was our first time at Tinley Park. And for that show, it was perfectly fine. Like we enjoyed, outside of the commuting from the train station there, I think we both enjoyed our time there. And the second stage was on like the cement parking lot.
Yeah, I couldn't stand. I didn't take sunscreen, so I couldn't stand out there.
Right. So
I went to the VIP.
You went to the VIP lounge, just hung out under shade. I went and saw a few other bands.
Yeah.
And then saw the Lumineers and left. They weren't the headliner. They were like the second from the top of the bill. And then we left, got our Metro, and went home. Like it was pretty easy. Like I said, outside that commute, trying to get an Uber from the Metro stop to the venue, it was a pretty easy, enjoyable time getting out there.
Yeah, it wasn't bad.
It wasn't until we go to see Rammstein a little bit later
that we hated it
and found out how hard and miserable it is to get out there.
Yeah, that was a little bit different.
Also a different style of concert. So like we didn't have the same audio issues that we did with Rammstein, that we did with Lumineers.
Yeah. I guess I didn't realize that was what is it, Q101?
Q101, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, like I don't listen to the radio here, so I don't know what the stations are. But and then what was the other one that we saw then?
So yeah, that was the first one, and also I was just kind of like, is this the same? It kind of seems like the same type of music.
It is, yeah, like the alternative rock.
Yeah, so that's why I looked that up, and like sure enough, it was. The other one was the Ahoy birthday bash or birthday show, and Ahoy,
that makes sense now.
Ahoy is the morning show.
Okay.
And they're the ones that I believe came out just before Jack White, and they're both like, Ahoy.
Yeah, and I was just like, what the fuck?
We're the morning show guys. Yeah.
I didn't understand that, but
I think that's the name of the show. It's
okay.
Ahoy.
Okay.
And I want to say it was their birthday bash. Either I thought it was the radio station, but maybe it was the morning show's birthday.
Okay.
At least that's what I remember it being. But it was the Black Keys.
Oh yeah, you went to that
in January of 2020.
Yeah, that was like one of your last concerts before.
So I couldn't remember if this was my last concert or Lumineers was my last concert.
Lumineers was, because that was in February.
Oh, was it February? Okay.
Yeah, because that was our last concert before.
So yeah, this is the one.
Shutdown.
Yep, I went to this by myself. You didn't go to the Black Keys.
I should have.
That was a really good show. I really enjoyed that. But yeah, those were the two shows we've seen from Q101.
So it is like that different, or I'm saying different music, but it's more of like punk rock.
I wouldn't go that far, but like alternative for sure. They have
I mean, Starcrawler's a punk rock band, and they were there.
Are they?
Yeah, according to Wikipedia.
Oh, I mean,
I can see that.
I guess I'm thinking more of like the Clash as being punky, like old school punk.
Oh, yeah.
Not like new, like I don't know if you'd call like Fall Out Boy punk or whatnot, right?
I would maybe.
But to me, that's more like emo-y, indie. Like
I mean, guess we're so bad at like doing genres.
I guess it's like new punk, like new emo punk type stuff.
Yeah,
but
yeah. I mean, you got to think what punk. I mean, everything's kind of turned. Yeah, Fall Out Boy is considered punk.
See, yeah, I wouldn't consider that punk either.
Yeah,
so
I think it's just everything, like the genres are kind of mixing so much that are like evolving so much that pop punk, pop rock, pop alternative rock, emo or emo pop is for Fall Out Boy, which I would definitely agree with most of those.
Yeah, like Dead Kennedys, the Clash, the Ramones. To me, those are more like, when I think of punk, that's where my head goes.
Yeah.
But once again, that's like old
school.
punk.
Yeah.
So
I'm saying old school, but yeah. I mean, like 80s, right? Is that like 80s?
Yeah, 70s, 80s.
Yeah. But I mean, you got to think now we're in 2010s or 2020s.
2020s, yeah.
Yeah. I said 2010s because Starcrawler started in 2015, so like they were. I mean, it's the evolution of the genre.
Yeah.
So. And
like, just getting into the bands now, I guess. Like, Starcrawler, we showed up late to the venue.
Yes.
It didn't sound like they had started by the time we walked in. But by the time we got up there, they were playing.
Yeah, it was interesting because I thought the same thing when we walked in. I could hear music playing, but I think it was that Q101 had a booth by like where you walk down to the coat rack or coat check. Sorry. So I think that's the music I heard when we walked in because like when we walked in, I mean, we've walked into Aragon while bands are playing and it is like so loud downstairs already. I mean, it's like booming, which this is a little different music, but later on in the night, you still get that echoey, boomy sound. But so I don't know if they had actually started when we went in or we just happened to walk in during like a lull period, but you would think that you would hear something.
Yeah, I don't know. I was kind of like, there was a moment where I was like, are they playing right now or are they not? But it definitely wasn't like you were saying that loud, boomy stuff.
Yeah.
So.
Like, I guess the other band, when we saw Lamb of God, like Suicide Silence was on, and that, I mean, you could tell that they were playing.
Yeah.
And then even when we went to see, I always say Smashing Pumpkins, that's wrong. It is
Flogging Molly.
Flogging Molly. When we walked in to see Flogging Molly, like they had, whatever the first band was playing, and you could tell that too.
Were they playing by then? Or would we be up there?
No, we walked in while they were playing.
Oh, okay. You don't remember that, but yeah, all right. So yeah, it was kind of weird. We got our merch. I think I got a beer down there. Did the coat check thing, restrooms real quick, and then went on upstairs. And like we said, they were already playing, and it was already fucking crazy packed in there.
It like you couldn't even get onto the floor. Really, I mean, we did get onto the floor, but people were not happy to move their shoulders so we could walk by.
So yeah, it was. We did the thing you normally do, where you go downstage left, walk all the way to the other side of the bar, and typically you can find like a little hole that you can at least walk in, and there's usually gaps that you can probably start to find your spot real easily. There was none of that. It was like completely packed, even on that little walkway where the bars are, just full of people just standing there and people moving back and forth.
Yeah.
And then we made our way toward the back and tried to do the same thing, and eventually found a spot to like crawl into. But like you were saying, like we were trying to get by people, like, excuse me. People weren't having it. They were not big fans of moving.
It was weird to me because like almost every concert we go to, like, but you might get like the eye from somebody like when you're walking by, but most of the time people are moving out of your way at least a little bit, or like moving their shoulders and stuff so you could kind of like get by. And there was one guy that I put my hand on his shoulder and I was just like, excuse me. And like he wasn't moving, so I just kind of pushed him. I was like, move the fuck out of the way. Like, just move in. I mean, it was him and like 5 other people, and they were like kind of in like a circle, like a semicircle. And like they were all talking because the music's not that loud, so you can talk over it or whatever. But I was just like, move. Like, I've never been to a concert where somebody won't at least move their shoulder.
I mean, and closer you get to the front for sure.
Yes, yeah,
then people
but
are
not,
like, no, there's no room up there, and I've been here a while. So
yeah,
fuck
not
off.
way back in.
And this was in the back,
Yes.
behind the soundstage.
Yes, completely in the back. Like we were just trying to get to the center, or like not to the center, but like onto the floor.
And 10 feet in front of these people there was openings where people weren't standing. It's like, we can stand right there.
That's where I was going.
Yeah.
And like, but you had to walk by these people to get there.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know. I couldn't believe how many people were there for the night already.
Right.
I mean, but this goes back to what we've been talking about the last couple episodes that we've recorded is people are showing up early for these concerts. Like it's not like back in 2019, 2018 time period where you would show up at 7:00 when the concert starts and nobody's there, and then people slowly trickle in for the headliner.
Yeah. We just had a show in Denver, and it was back like pre-COVID experience where people were trickling in all through the night.
Yeah. But there was like the beer event going on too. So.
It was, but I mean, it kind of made me wonder, like, all right, we finally passed this. I haven't seen this show in forever. I need to see everything I can to like, all right, things are back to normal. I've seen my music. I've got my fill. Now I know what I want to do type thing. Like I'm going back to the way I used to do things, which could be, and it could just be like this style of music that we don't typically go to doesn't have as many events.
True.
I would venture to say they have more events than we do.
Yeah, I feel like they have
in
a
terms
lot
of like
more.
metal. In the area.
Yeah.
But also the crowd was a lot older. I noticed there were a lot of older, middle-aged.
I
people
see that
here.
at metal shows. Though.
I do too, but not to the extent. I felt like it was vastly over.
Okay.
I felt like it was.
I mean, you got to think we're
a lot more
mid.
No, we are. I think we fall into that category too. I assume there'd be a lot more younger. I mean, maybe there were closer to the front you got.
Yeah.
We just didn't get up that way, but
yeah.
I don't know. It was kind of weird to me.
I think the other thing that I noticed was the crowd doesn't stand so close together. Like everybody kind of left a little bit of room in between where like there's so many times at concerts that we normally go to where you might have a little bit of room, but pretty much you're touching somebody or like somebody's so close to you that they're touching you.
Yeah. Also, like, especially when the headliner goes on, right? The curtain drops. There's always that push forward.
Yeah.
Or
Or
like
the pit
shows.
opening up or something like that. And so then you're touching the person next to you. Where here, I felt like, I mean, you don't have that. You don't have pits opening up or whatever. And so I felt like there was a room in between people. So you're not as...
It definitely wasn't as cramped
yeah,
as normal.
Yeah.
That's for sure. And
it's normal for what we're used to.
Compared to like a metal show, for sure.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Like with the pit, like when you have a pit open, it rearranges the crowd a bit.
Yeah.
Like you now have to
you're jostling and you're moving around.
Right. You're now finding your spot within the new environment that it is with the pit. Right. And you didn't really get that here. It was really people are going to stand in their spot and enjoy the music within their own area. And we'll get to it with Jack White, but there was a guy in front of you who's having the time of his life.
Yeah. It was awesome to see him so into it.
But I mean,
we'll get there.
Starcrawler, we only saw like the last 2 songs, maybe 3 songs.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. And I'd never heard of Starcrawler before.
I really wasn't into the music.
I wasn't either.
I
gotta be honest.
Yeah, I was not really getting into it.
And I didn't see very many people in the crowd into it either. I'm gonna be honest. I heard a lot of talking.
Oh yeah.
Which is weird that you can hear talking over the band because you would think that. I mean, and it wasn't like people are screaming in my mind. It was just talking. And then also it's just like we were in the back. So when you're looking out over everybody, I was like, you really didn't see movement. You didn't really see anything. So I don't know. Maybe that's just this type of concert though.
Maybe. I don't know. I wasn't getting into it. And like I said, we were only there for the last couple songs. So I don't know. Maybe if we were there for all of it, would have gotten more into it, but I doubt it. Just didn't seem like something I was into at the time. Or it seems like something I'm not really into right now at this moment.
Yeah. I don't even think this type of music is something that like you've listened to in the past. Like,
so, yeah, I mean,
you went through like alternative rock phase. I don't feel like this was anything like that.
Same with, so just skipping ahead to Wet Leg, and I guess real quick, one other thing I'll say is I did notice when Starcrawler got done that they were tearing their own shit down. On the stage,
like an opener.
So that I'm just saying like that kind of, I'm using that now as a judgment to understand where a band is in their sort of career.
Okay, yeah.
Because if you're tearing your own shit down, you're starting off, you're kind of newish, you don't have necessarily the finance to help pay for like roadies and whatnot to tear your shit down for you. So I'm just kind of using that as a bearing to like, all right, what's going on? Or like, where are you at in your career sort of thing. But skipping ahead to Wet Leg, like both Starcrawler and Wet Leg, I think are bands. So you mentioned it, like around 2010 or so to about 2016, 2017. I don't want to say I fell out of metal music, but I stopped listening to it as my primary
Yeah, you started listening
music.
more like mainstream
More of this
songs.
like alternative stuff.
Yeah.
Like I got into rap a little bit, but like we mentioned, the Lumineers, the Avett Brothers, the Black Keys. So yeah, from like 2010 to 2017 ish, somewhere in there.
Yeah, 2005, 2016, or 2015, 16 area.
Well, 16 for sure, because that's when we went to open air.
Yeah.
But then there was probably a little break in time after that also
I
that
think
I
that
slowly
really-
got back into
Yeah, I
it.
was gonna say I think open air really got us back into the music that we liked prior to, like when we weren't going to concerts. We really started listening, or like that whole experience like kind of brought us back into it.
Yeah, but I mean, during that time frame, that's when I was doing stuff or listening to stuff like Black Keys, Mumford and Sons, Lumineers, Avett Brothers, stuff like that, right? More alternative, indie sort of rock music. And both with Wet Leg and Starcrawler, I probably, if I would have found out about them during that time frame, I probably would have really enjoyed the music.
Oh, really?
I think I
Think
would
so?
have, yeah. Or maybe not. Maybe I wouldn't have. I tried listening to Wet Leg again after the show, and it's still not something I'm really into.
I don't think so. I don't think either one of these bands is something that I could get into.
Um,
And I don't know what it is about. I mean, I can't even pinpoint what it is, but it's kind of Wet Leg definitely like. Somebody's probably gonna hate me for this, but the songs are kind of annoying. Like, there's one that I know we've heard before, but we'll talk about it when we get there.
Go ahead, talk about it. We're there. Like I don't.
Okay. So I don't know what the song name is, but it's something about got the shoes on the wrong feet, wrong feet, wrong feet. Got the shoes on the wrong feet. And I know we've heard it somewhere. Like I think we were out, in public somewhere and it was playing. And I remember making the joke of like, what the fuck is this song? And they have a supermarket song, which is kind of funny because we have like an inside joke about supermarkets or grocery stores. But other than that, I don't know. It's just the songs don't resonate with me and it's just annoying. That's the only word I can have for it.
Yeah, I mean, we were on the floor for a little bit of the show of their set at the beginning. I really wasn't into it. I was sort of getting annoyed with it as well. Not like, I don't know. Like I was like, I'm bored. I'm done with this. I don't know. So I mean, we went downstairs and got another beer, and then sort of just wandered around. Went back up and we were just like, we're just gonna hang out in the back and watch it from a very far distance. We don't need to be super fucking close. So when we got back up there, though, it was still just fucking insanely packed.
Yeah.
Like
nobody clears
all over
out.
the walkways.
Yeah.
And people just finding little holes to stand in, and I don't know. It was the most people I'd seen at that venue in a long time, if not ever.
Yeah, I would agree.
And maybe it was the crowd just wasn't consolidating down like it does at like a metal show or something, right? Like,
Yeah.
you don't have that push from the back. So I don't know. It was weird. I mean, it was a struggle to walk around the perimeter of the floor. Like you said, they have that step down onto the floor.
Yeah.
And then you have that like walkway all around the edges. It was incredibly hard to walk around there because it was like shoulder to shoulder people. And there was one part where we were walking up there and there's enough room for like one column of people to walk in one direction at a time. So we were trying to go one direction. A group was trying to go the opposite. And we sort of just like stood there and waited for like 10, 15 people to walk by us. And then we walked by when they were done.
Yeah.
One of the guys in the line, one of the guys at the end of the line was like, hey, I saw you guys just hang back and wait for us. Thanks for doing that. And like just bumped fists with him and went on our way.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
I really had no choice right then because the lady in front of me I think she was waiting for the bar. So like I couldn't even get around her. So it was like,
yeah.
I had to just stand there.
So, I mean, We've never been there where it was like that busy and that full.
When we normally go to concerts, I normally don't leave the crowd. Like, you go back and get beer and water and stuff. But I normally just stand on the floor. If I have to go to the bathroom, maybe. But otherwise, I just stay there. So I really don't see what it's like during a band. But I don't think I've ever seen it that busy there.
Yeah.
Or that the crowd like that anyways, where it's like flowing out into the bar areas.
Yeah. We ended up finding a spot on the side, this time on stage right. Couldn't really see the stage because we were back in that walkway area behind the pillars.
Yeah.
Holding
I
up
could
the...
a little bit.
Could you?
Like, yeah, but only like the guitarist and the singer.
If I stepped down and peeked over, I could see the whole thing.
Then you could see it, yeah.
But yeah, I didn't do that. But when we did get there, they had a light on the disco ball for the first time.
Yeah.
I've never seen the disco ball in use.
Yeah. I think I made the comment like, oh, they should have done that during like Alma Marth or something. That would have been cool.
So it was kind of cool to see a disco ball. I kind of low-key like disco balls. I think they're kind of cool. But yeah, that was kind of cool. I think we left or went back to the other side. I can't remember.
We went down, like to use the restroom, and I think you got a beer downstairs and stuff, and then we came back up, and then we were like, we just stood back like at the top.
So that
of the
was
stairs.
that first time, I think, and then I think after that, before we came up and found that spot, and then maybe went back down again. I can't remember. I don't. Think
No. We just went back to the stair. So I was using the stair. I remember now. Like, we did go back to the other side, but we just kind of stood back a little ways, like back by the staircase. But I used the stairs to get through the crowd because people aren't standing on the stairs, so you could just walk down and then walk back up.
Right. So
that's what I did.
The stairs are like basically straight behind the stage or straight in front of the stage.
Yep.
But there's a bar that takes up that whole area, sort of, and then sort of like it's like bar, walkway, floor, and then the stairs are behind the bar. And you're right, like it was incredibly hard to get through that little walkway area.
Yeah,
except for
just because it was so full of people.
Except for you go down the stairs, up, and now you're on the other side of the bar. And that was nifty little trick. We hung out there for them to finish, and they finished. And the thought was, we'll wait for to clear out on the floor, and then go find spots in the back for Jack White.
Yeah.
It didn't clear out that much, but it cleared out some where we can get into the floor and find a spot to stand.
Yeah, we did. I mean, still way back in the back by like past the sound stage.
Yeah.
But it didn't clear out nearly as much as I thought it would.
Yeah.
Because I feel like for the concerts we normally go to, like it clears out quite a bit and then fills back in. But
yeah. I mean, it was definitely filling in because you definitely saw like people come by in groups like multiples with their beers walking through the crowd.
Yeah.
And struggling to get back to their spot, but same thing you had to do is just sort of push your way through.
Yeah.
Like, fuck it, whatever.
Yeah. But I did when that was happening, like when we were standing there for Jack White to go on. I noticed that kind of like the same thing that we had when Starcrawler went on, like where people weren't moving, and like they would not even like move their shoulder to get by, and then like at one point somebody did, like they were trying to. It seemed like they were trying to find their group of friends or whatever, and they kind of stood there with their beers in their hand and like looking around, and the person in front of me was like you got to move, like I was here, you got to move, and it's like he's obviously trying to find where he's going. I don't know. It's the crowd's a little different than like what we are used to seeing or what we're used to dealing with. I don't know if that's the right word, but it's more like everybody was there for themselves and not like we're all here for the same reason, in my opinion. This is my own opinion. I mean,
the not moving your shoulder, like if there's room in front of you, go ahead.
Like move up or just move out of the way.
Exactly. Like if you're not going to move up and there's room in front of you, let people fill that spot. Don't just be a little bitch and like stand back and like, no, this is my spot. I'm not moving at all. That I do hate that a lot. I'm also not a big fan of the people who try to like, I'm going to get rail and fight their way. I'm going to fight my way to the rail. Yeah. And it's like,
I have a kid up there. My kid's up there.
It's like, especially like that kid experience. That was a Metallica show, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like the people on the rail were sitting there at 6 a.m. before
Yeah.
the show doors opened. So like that pisses me off a little, where it's like, no, the people on the rail aren't going to give up the spot. So if you show up like 10 minutes before the headliner goes on, and you skip over all the openers, and you're like, I'm going to get the rail. Like, oh, fuck off. Like, no, like you're going to be in the back and you're going to fucking stay there. That's what you get for, showing up late. But once again, if there's room in the back and you can get up, go ahead. But you're going to run into a certain spot where it's like people have been standing here for a while. They were here for this spot. They're not giving that up.
Yeah. But this is a little different, like where we were standing, where it's not in that situation, which
Right.
I think is exactly what you're saying. But it's like, at least let people get by and back with their friend group. Or, I mean, like you said, like there's spots open. So
Right. But I mean, so that's something that irritates me a little bit. Another thing is, like you were saying, where they were in a spot, they went back to get a beer, and they go back and assume that they can get that spot back.
Yeah.
That pisses me off also, because it's like, just because you were at a spot, like there's no spots backs, right? You can't say spot back, go get your beer and come back and expect, like,
yeah, sometimes you can. Like sometimes you can tell people like around you, like, hey, can I come back here?
Right. But
And
I mean,
you can try.
But at the same time, if the crowd fills in, then it fills in.
Yeah.
The problem with this show is it wasn't filling in. It was just
Right.
people finding a spot and hanging out.
Yep.
And being like, no, this is where my feet are planted. This is where I'm staying.
Yep. Yeah.
And that little bit's a little frustrating. It's like, no, there's room 10 feet in front of you. I can see it right there.
Yeah. Like, let me buy you.
Move your fucking shoulder.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So it's just a different vibe, a different crowd mentality.
It is. Yeah. And I think that's what I was trying to say. It's just like, it's a different crowd mentality. That's a good way to put it. Just a different vibe than what we have dealt with in the past, or what we're used to in the past.
But yeah, then we get Jack White.
His set was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Because like you alluded to earlier, like he utilized that screen that was behind, and we'd never seen this at Aragon before, where like it's basically
a projector
of what's going on the stage. Sometimes it was, sometimes it wasn't. Sometimes there was like background.
Definitely some effects to it.
Some effects or but I really enjoyed that, because since we were so far in the back, I've said it so many times, I love the Aragon because you can see the stage from wherever. I take that back now, because if you're way in the back and you have a tall person in front of you, you still can't see. So, but where we've always stood, like up on the stage left corner,
closer to the front.
Yeah.
Like, as long as you're closer in the middle of on the middle of the floor.
Yeah, like I could see every single time. So I was always like, I love Aragon because of that. But when you're farther in the back, it's definitely different. So yeah, when they used the projections, it was nice to be able to see what was going on the stage.
The hype man at the beginning was a little weird. They had like a little guy in the booth come out and basically like hype up Jack White and
I kind of remember that. Yeah.
That was a little weird to me.
I've never seen that happen before.
Well,
I guess at open air they did. They had like Jose, whatever his name is, come out and hype people up.
Yeah, I mean, and that was sort of like this one as well, right? They had you had your normal radio announcers, we already said, come out and talk up in between each band. So like just before Jack White, the Ahoy morning crew came out and hyped up and gave out the t-shirts. Like that's normal. We've seen that at concerts.
Yeah.
But then they got off, and then it was somebody else being like, are you ready for Jack White? And then they came out and they're like, he doesn't use set lists. He plays off the energy of the crowd. He's going to feel you. The band, they don't know what song's next. They just have to wait for the cues from Jack and then go with whatever song he chooses as next to play. So it was just kind of weird. I was like, all right. And he had like a little pulpit thing. He was like a speaking booth.
Oh, see, I didn't see that. Yeah.
That ended up getting pulled off the stage after he was done. It was just a weird thing for me. And when he's doing his spiel, there was a group around us, like right behind me. And he said this thing about Jack White not using a set list. And the guy behind me was like, yeah, you're just reiterating what Jack White fans already know. Don't do this. Get off the stage.
I didn't know that, but I'm not a fan.
And so like that was a little frustrating to me. It's like, dude, shut the fuck up. Like, yeah, you know this, but not everybody here has seen Jack White before. Not everyone is familiar with that.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
like that's kind of cool to share that information and give it up, like let people know they're in for a unique experience tonight. I did think it was weird. I didn't think you needed that aspect to the show. You didn't need to come out there and say all that shit.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they're doing it. So like this guy being like, I've seen him 17 times and I knew this. Everybody fucking knows that. Like that mentality, that attitude, I wasn't like super big on. He ended up pissing me off. He and his friends or female friends or whoever he was with ended up pissing me off a little later too.
Oh, really?
Because they were bitching about, in the middle of the set, they were bitching about people filming. And they're like, I don't know how they do that. Like, do they have a battery pack that they're hooking their phones up to film the entire goddamn show? Like, why are you doing that? You're never going to watch this again. The audio sounds like shit. We've had the same conversation about like, why do you record this? Like, it's going to, the same arguments we've made. It sounds like shit. You're never going to watch it again.
Which is not necessarily true. I remember going, when was the first time I saw Avatar? In 2017?
Something like that.
So then it must have been 2018. I'm trying to look. Was that 2019?
You can't read from there.
2019? So what's this?
I don't know.
But when we saw them at House of Blues, when we saw Avatar at House of Blues, I remember recording a lot of the songs. Not like the entire song, but like a couple minutes of the songs. And in 2020, I went back and watched those a lot. But then again, we didn't have music to watch. I sometimes randomly find it on my phone, like when I'm going through old pictures or whatever, and I will stop and like listen to them. But to the fact of like watching it from start to end, no, probably not.
But I mean, we also made that exact same argument with a friend of ours and being like, that's why you like, sounds like shit.
Yeah.
You're never going to watch this. Why the fuck are you doing this? His response was, my daughter goes to a show, records the thing, and will watch that entire concert on her phone over and over and over and over. So like, just because we don't or these people don't rewatch the videos they shoot doesn't mean the people out there don't do that and don't enjoy doing that.
And not everybody's seen 17 fucking Jack White concerts or
right.
able to go to a concert every week or whatever the case is. It's like some people, that might be the only show that they see this year. And so they want to relive the moment over and over and over.
Right. And with all that said, I still fucking hate people who do it also.
I do too.
It annoys the shit out of me seeing a phone up and just record the entire bit, right? Yeah. Like, it's so fucking frustrating.
Like, I recorded a lot of Rammstein just because the show aspect of it. But when I did it, I held it, like, right at my chest.
Right.
Like, I wasn't looking through the phone, and people around me didn't have to look through the phone.
Right.
Now, looking back at some of the video, it kind of sucks because I only see the guy that was, like, across the aisle from us in the shot. But you can hear the music, but because I wasn't looking at it, so they aren't the best shots. But like, I try not to do it. Like, I do get a couple clips every once in a while to like share on Instagram for when we post or whatever. But it's like, I try not to impede people's view or like record for 5 minutes of the whole song or whatever.
Right. Like and I do the same thing when I take the photos, right? It's pop it up either right in front of your face or hold it up just a little bit for a brief moment. Do your thing.
Yeah, get your shots.
Get done.
Done. Yeah.
Because I mean, it is like just live in the moment. Yeah. Enjoy like this. You don't need to remember every aspect of this show or of this thing. Let it change in your mind. Like, think about this. Like, I like to go back and think about a concert I saw, 10, 20 years ago and be like, well, not quite 20 years yet, but like 10 years ago, right?
Almost 20 years.
Almost, yeah. So like 15 years ago or whatever time, look in the past, even 2 years ago, and try to remember the bits and pieces you remember. Certain things fade away and certain things will change. Like, I think that's awesome. Yeah. I think that's how it should be.
I mean, people can see that from when we recorded our first episode, our first concerts as our first episode. And it's like, half that shit we don't remember.
Right.
Because we didn't have cameras or phones that would record everything. And then also it's like, it's been 18 years, right? 17 years So it's like we couldn't remember every aspect of it.
Right. So I think that's a really cool aspect for like live music and just looking back and thinking about it. So not having a shot by shot entire thing documented, it sort of fades and lives with what it was at that moment.
Yeah.
With that said, I mean, I also do like going back and watching live shows like on Nugs, Metallica, and Machine Head, right? All their shit's up there. Dead and Company, all their shit's up there.
I do it on YouTube all the time.
Right. So I do enjoy that as well, but I also like the fact that this is going to fade and die out. Like aspects of this will, and certain aspects will stay on. So all that to say, like, I also hate motherfuckers who are filming at shows, and I also get pissy about it. But the thing that frustrated me was they were making the same argument like that we made. It's going to sound like shit. You're never going to listen to it again. We now know that some people do watch it again. They do think the sound's fine. So that's not a valid argument. Like, you can't blanket say that.
Is it going to sound the same? No, but
yeah,
like you get those memories back in your mind when you're watching it.
So like that's not a valid argument to me anymore that you can use against why that should not be a thing. If your argument is a concert should be a living thing that lives and dies with the audience and doesn't need to be recorded, I buy that a little better. If you also argue that you're impeding the experience of those around you, also strongly believe in that.
Very valid argument there.
But so they made the other arguments, not those last two that we were talking about. But then they went back into the exact same thing we did. Well, when I do it, I do this.
Yeah.
When I do it, I only take a little bit. And I was like, so you're saying it's not cool when somebody else does it, but it's cool when you. Yeah. And later in the evening, I did see his hand like stick up and hold up.
You should turn around
over my shoulder and like record. And I was like, you fucking ass.
You should turn around and been like, you're impeding my. Or I don't know, like you're impeding.
You're never gonna watch that again. It's gonna sound like shit.
And you're impeding my experience at this concert.
So like I thought that was, and this was I think the same group who was like bitching about the opener being like, well, why don't you talk about this? Because everybody already knows this. All Jack White fans know this information. So that was a little frustrating. I wasn't a big fan of those few people around us right there. Yeah.
But the person in front of me was really fun.
Yeah, you were saying that, yeah.
So we had a few interactions where at first he saw that I had a poster tube that I was holding, even though I told you if we bought a poster, I was not going to hold it. I always know that I'm going to end up holding it for part of the night. Anyways, and he asked if we got a poster. And I said, yes, we did. And he's like, well, what time did you get there? I was like, 7:30, blah, blah, blah. Like, we went through this whole conversation, how he wanted a poster or whatever. And then he asked me, he's like, are you excited? Are you having fun or something? And I kind of gave the face of like, it's okay. Like, it's not really what we're into. So I was being honest. But he was really excited to see Jack White. Like, he had Jack White shirt, sweater, everything. Like, he was really excited. So then when the concert actually started, like, he was jumping around, singing, I don't really want to say dancing because I wasn't really dancing, but he was really enjoying it. And he kept bumping into me or whatever. And, he kept saying sorry. And finally I just told him, like, hey, it's fine. You're enjoying it. Don't worry. Don't say sorry. Like that sort of thing. Like, I'm used to the crowd being moving around or whatever. But in the little group that we were, or like little area we were in, he was really the only one that was moving around like. Yeah,
I think so. There were people ahead of him. You would see every now and then like a hand jump up.
Yeah.
And like the crowd like bob up and down a little bit. But
definitely not like what we're used to.
Yeah, and even that wasn't like sustainable. Like it went up for a little bit. The energy was up, and then it went down a little.
There was like a couple songs that I remember, like the crowd really getting into it. But then other than that, it was like it's just not the same vibe that we're used to. But I really enjoyed being around somebody that was really into the music. It really makes it. I mean, we've talked about it a lot. Like the energy of the crowd really makes a concert. So having one person, and I don't know, it was something entertaining for me to do while listening to the music, I guess. Because I really don't know Jack White's music at all. I knew one song of the whole night.
Seven Nation Army.
Yes, Salvation Army.
Seven Nation Army.
I know. I don't remember how that came up, but I think you said it, and I thought you said Salvation Army. So.
Oh, no. There was a good mix of his stuff, his other bands, and one of them obviously being the White Stripes, right?
Yeah.
Of just good mix of music all night long. We also found out, though, he did like a pre-show at
Empty Bottle.
Empty Bottle. That's what the name of it? Yeah.
Yeah, and we had just heard about Empty Bottle.
Yeah, he did a pre-show at the Empty Bottle the night before. I didn't realize it was a pre-show until I was putting the set list together or adding his set list to our playlist, and he did a set there. He played there the night before. So that would have been really cool to see. And they were going to go back to the Cubby Bear for an after party for Q101 was going to do an after party at Cubby Bear also. So they've definitely made this Twisted Xmas thing into a bigger thing than just a concert. There were pre-shows, post-shows. Yeah. There's a lot going on around the area.
Yeah, like things at the bars and everything like that, yeah.
That would have been kind of cool to be involved in, but I was a bit done and just wanted to, a bit out of it. But I mean, like you said, I knew Jack White from the White Stripes, so that's where I know the most of his music from. Some of his other bands.
I feel like you have an album or two.
We have a couple White Stripes albums, but nothing of his other stuff. So yeah, definitely know stuff from the White Stripes is where, I learned of him back in the, early 2000s when I was starting to do my own musical like journey and exploration, right? Familiar with some of his other stuff, especially with like the Raconteurs or however you pronounce that. I'm not very good at that. They were actually at Riot Fest the first year we went.
Oh, okay.
I think they were there the next day on Sunday.
Oh, we only went one day, right?
We only went Saturday, I think it was, for Slayer. And that was our first time going to...
Yeah, Slayer was on Sunday, so they must have been there Saturday.
Oh, Saturday, right.
Yeah.
It was our first time going to Riot Fest, and we debated if we were going to go more days than just one to see Slayer or not. But we just did the Sunday and saw Slayer. And I think they were there either Saturday or they were there earlier in the day, and we didn't get there early enough to see them. I can't remember. But I kind of wish we would have type thing, seen them. So, I mean, yeah, familiarity with his work, definitely. I was curious to see what the performance would be like. I knew there was going to be White Stripes stuff played. That's just going to happen the way it is.
Yeah.
I thought it was a good mix of everything he did. I know his new album just recently came out within the last 6 months to a year or so.
Okay.
And I liked how the imagery and the aesthetics of this performance, this show, this tour sort of spilled over from that. And the album cover is all just a blue and a black and white. Like those are your only colors that you have on the album cover. And that's all they had for lighting was blues and whites as sort of like even the background screen, right, was all in the blue and white tint. The lights themselves coming out onto the crowd were blue and white in different shades and different tints. So I really liked how that sort of spilled over and flowed in with it.
Yeah. I forgot the album cover, but I just Googled it, and yeah, it was really cool how that all went together.
So, I mean, normally you'll have a bunch of other colors and whatnot with the lights come out, and I don't know, I thought that was really cool. The set list thing that they talked about, the hype man talked about, I was kind of like, I was a little iffy on it. Like, all right, how much of this is just, people talking it up? Like, how much of this is really, we don't know what we're going to play next?
Yeah.
When I was putting the set list onto our playlist for Jack White, I did go back and look at other shows, and I was like, all right, fine. It does mix up here and there, but you definitely see some.
It's almost the same.
Not almost the same necessarily, but the first two songs were always the same. You always ended on Seven Nation Army. So I was like, so there is some structure to this. You know where you're going to start, you know where you're going to end, and stuff like that. And maybe everything in the middle is sort of bouncing around. But then I found a few shows where it was like those first two songs were not the first two songs. In fact, it was Seven Nation Army that they came out and started with.
Wow. That would have been a short night for us. I would have been like, okay, let's go. It's the only song I know.
So like, okay, I can see that. And I don't know if Dead and Company uses a set list or not, but there's definitely portions in the set where they do just sort of go off and jam and do their own thing. And I do really enjoy when bands do stuff like that. And I felt like that was done really well here.
Yeah.
There was definitely that. We're just going to vibe off each other, play our thing. We know where we're going next. We know what we're waiting for. We just need to wait till we hear that beat or that riff. And then like, okay, this is what's going to start us off down the next road.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's definitely what it seemed like was going on here. And it was definitely enjoyable and definitely well done, I thought.
Yeah. I mean, I enjoyed the music. I was thinking that I don't really, I mean, I know I've said this like 3 or 4 times, but I don't really know Jack White music or his songs or whatever. Probably, I mean, I'm sure I've heard you play the music before, but it was when we were there listening to it, I was like, this is the type of music that I think I want to seek out when we find something to listen to at Red Rocks. Because Red Rocks is on our list of venues that we want to go to, but we really don't want to see a metal band there just because, well, I don't know.
So I was going to bring that up
Oh,
during our year-end review show.
okay.
But we can talk a little bit about it here. We'll talk a little bit about it there as well. I agree with that, what you just said.
Yeah.
And thinking about it, I don't think Red Rocks is a great venue for all genres or styles of music. I think you need to have the right type of music for that particular venue. So the exact same thing you were saying, and we'll go probably more in depth when we get to the year in review, because I think I have a little bit I want to talk about there around that. But I 100% agree with what you're saying there.
Like, I'm not saying like, oh, if Jack White goes there, we need to go check him out. It's more, this is the type of music that I think I would want to find. So it might be a brand new band that we've never seen, and we just happen to be in Denver while they're there. So let's go check them out, sort of thing.
Right. Yeah. Something along the lines of Jack White fits really well, I think, in Red Rocks. Something like Lamb of God, maybe not so much.
Maybe not.
Not saying that wouldn't be cool. I'm just saying, is that the experience you're looking for at Red Rocks type thing?
I don't know. I mean, if Lamb of God goes to Red Rocks, I'll probably
Want to see that?
want to see it.
Yeah. So like that was the thought too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what else to say.
Yeah, we're not really talking about the set list very much, but we don't really know the songs too well to know like what happened during what song or whatever. So unless you do, to like kind of go back through and talk about like the backdrop or anything that's around the set list, like how the screen was used and stuff during each song.
Yeah, I don't know much either. The backdrop was really cool. There was one part, probably the 5th song maybe, or maybe sooner. I don't know when exactly. Jack went back and played the piano, and there was a giant blue moon with like trees on the backdrop, which sort of mirrored his new album cover.
I was gonna say that really went with the album.
So there was that. Other really cool like geometric shapes. There was, the square rectangle, multiple of them coming out at you all at once part, and then in the center was the picture of the band, and then the squares would come out with once again different shades of blue and whites as that happened. I mean, yeah, I don't really know a whole lot more. Like this, I enjoyed the set a lot.
Yeah. I didn't know if you knew or if you like paid attention to like what song was playing when what thing was happening, or if you even knew the songs that well.
No, the White Stripes songs, when those came on, that was pretty self-apparent. It's like, oh, this is a White Stripes song.
Oh, okay.
That's really cool. I've mainly listened to his White Stripes stuff. And like I said, the Recantors, or however you pronounce that name. Sorry, I'm fucking that up. There was one song he's got there that I loved, and it was like about a milk boy.
Okay.
Yeah, basically like this kid watches his mother kill the priest or something, and it turns out the priest wasn't his father. It was I don't know. There's a song I love. The story behind it, I can't remember it, but there's like, once again, that was in that 2010 to 2017 era that I found that, and I was like, oh, okay, I love this, and listened to it over and over.
Yeah.
I haven't really listened to it in several years from now, or since then, but I did enjoy that song a lot, and that was not played. I was a little upset, but it also seemed like a song that probably wouldn't get played. But yeah, like the White Stripes songs came on. I knew all of those. That was awesome to hear. Awesome to see those. It was an enjoyable show a lot. I would definitely see him again.
I think he might be coming back for 2023.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. When I was looking up, like trying to find the set list for this, it gave 2023 Jack White tickets.
So. I didn't know that. I mean, he seems to play. I was doing some research. He does smaller tours. He doesn't play like very long. I think he said like maybe 2 months at most. But then it's like do a short little spurt of tours, take a little bit of a break, then go do another one. He also apparently at one point made you lock your phone away and you couldn't use your phone.
Oh, really? Doesn't Tool do that?
They may have. I don't know if they still do, but I think a number of bands have tried and experimented with this.
Yeah.
Obviously, that wasn't the case for this show. I think his arguments for why he wanted to do it are valid. It's the same thing we talked about, is like a concert should be a living thing that lives and dies in the moment.
Yeah.
So
I'm sorry, I want my phone. I don't know if I would go to a concert that doesn't allow you to have your phone.
So, I mean, that was one thing. I don't know. I enjoyed the set a lot. I enjoyed the atmosphere a lot, the vibe. Yeah, it was good. I enjoyed it.
That's good.
All in all. The first two bands, meh. Not a big fan of them, unfortunately, but Jack White, I enjoyed.
But we have that a lot. Like, even if it is music that we're into, like, sometimes the openers we're just not into. So
yeah, that's fair. Yeah, you don't have to like everything, I guess.
Everybody has their own likes and dislikes, so
yeah, I don't know. Anything else you want to add?
I don't think so.
No. I mean, Q101, we've seen a few of their shows. I've enjoyed everything we've seen of theirs. I've enjoyed this. So, like you said, it's a radio station. We don't listen to radio anymore, even in the car. Unless we go back home, then we'll listen to like Laser and Rock 108. But
Right. But that's a little different.
Yeah. And I was trying to think also, like, if we did live in Chicago or had this radio station available to us, this to me would fit into the slot of the bus back home, where I would be. The main station's going to be Rock 108 and Laser, right?
Yeah.
But every now and then you want to mix things up and you go with the bus.
Yeah.
To me, this is the bus of music.
Just kind of playing everything, which we don't know. I mean, we don't listen to it.
Just plays, stuff that's not what you're familiar with, but you want to change things up a bit. So, yeah.
That's true. I don't know. I've, like, onto the radio station thing, not really the concert, but I've always thought of listening to the radio stations here in Chicago, but then it's like, I don't really like listening to radio because they just play the same songs.
And all the ads.
Yeah. Like, you listen to 3 songs and it's like 5 minutes of ads and then 3 songs.
You come back and listen to some more songs and then some more ads and some more songs and some more ads.
And then it just repeats.
Repeat those songs all over again.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, I don't know. That's one thing that I like about doing our playlists and stuff on Spotify, because then it's a little bit more mixture.
Yeah.
But then again, I find myself listening to the same songs over and over and over. So
you don't learn about new stuff for sure.
You don't, yeah.
But you kind of don't learn about new stuff on the radio either.
No, not unless a band has like an album coming out or if like they're coming to town or something.
The biggest way I learn about new things now is definitely live shows.
Yeah.
And it's the openers.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh shit, I didn't know about, and we've talked about that, like going in blind and not knowing anything about the openers.
Yeah.
Which I kind of like and kind of dislike. It has its pros and cons, right? But regardless, that's where we find the majority of our new bands now is just the openers.
Yep.
You find some really, really great, amazing things in openers. And you find some stuff that you're just not into. And
which is apparent because everybody's going to concerts really early. So maybe everybody's doing that.
Yeah. And this, I don't know. I mean, said it already. I enjoyed it. It was a good show. Yeah.
It was okay. I mean, I didn't hate it. It just would I necessarily be like, oh my God, I want to relive that night? No, probably not. But
Did you enjoy it enough to go back and see Jack White again?
I probably would in a different setting. I don't know.
If he goes back to the Aragon, you're not going.
No, I
necessarily
guess I
back.
would go back to the Aragon to see him. I would just want to get there early and then not move. I don't want to be all the way back in the back by the sound stage or behind the sound stage. I think that's what I mean by a different setting. Like, I felt like we were struggling to find a spot to see.
Yeah,
for a lot of the night. Yeah. So, and that's kind of frustrating. I like to be able to see the band and see what's going on and stuff. And I've said it before that the Aragon's great for that, but not in all spots.
Not when you're in the back.
Yeah. Which we never experienced that before, so I didn't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm torn. I want to see him again.
House of Blues would be cool.
Yeah, I don't think it's too small. Like,
you think so?
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe, or seeing something like when we saw Roger Waters, like a setup like that would be kind of cool.
More of an arena type thing.
Well, yeah. I guess I'm just saying like something with a seat because it's not.
And I guess maybe like the VIP here at the Aragon, where you get the balcony seats and whatnot.
And I'm not saying like I need to sit down to see it, but it's more like I consider this music more of like sit and listen than like be in the crowd.
Enjoy the show. You're not going to get much from the crowd.
Yeah.
You're not going to get much additional from the crowd, so might as well just sit and enjoy it.
Which I think is why I'm saying like, oh, maybe if we were close to the front, we would get that, but where we were at, it wasn't.
Yeah, maybe.
That much like that.
We talked about that with Korn too, where it's like we were in the back a little bit, and I was like, this wasn't that vibey. Like it was, there were people around us for that show having a great time, but
it wasn't what we're used to.
I didn't get that like crowd mentality, like heavy mentality.
Yeah.
And you were pointing out like maybe it's where we were standing. And same thing here. We were further in the back. So yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I want to check out different types of music and not necessarily go straight for metal all the time, even though that's mainly what we do. This is one that I just happened to see, and I thought it was more like, I mean, it was Christmas themed with the venue and everything, but I thought maybe it was more like.
You said there'd be like Christmas carols and whatnot?
Yeah, maybe.
Oh, okay.
When I first saw
I guess, you're the one that pointed this show out to me, and you're like, you want to go to this? I was like, I do. I don't think you do, but I do.
Yeah. So I thought it was going to be more like, well, okay, so let me back up. We have a few bands that we have records of Christmas songs that they've done. Or we've, Spotify or, listened to it or whatever, where it's like a band that we know like does Christmas songs. So that's why I thought this was going to be.
Yeah.
And it wasn't. It was an actual concert, which was cool. Really cool. But so I think that's when I first was like, hey, do you want to check this out? Like, it's something different to do, which it was different because I guess I've been to a few concerts like this with like Lumineers or whatever, but this is a little bit different than Lumineers. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I want to check out new things, but then again, I always gravitate towards metal concerts because that's the vibe that I like. This night I was uncomfortable a lot in the crowd just because I felt like people didn't want other people there. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So I felt like I was always in front of somebody or like bothering somebody or I don't know. And a lot of women had purses and there was a lot of women. So then I had to wait for the bathroom. That doesn't happen very often at metal concerts.
Anyway, I mean. Yeah.
We should check out more stuff that's not just metal.
Yeah, not the thing that we typically gravitate towards, not the thing that we're typically into, like you said, not the typical metal vibe that we want, but still seeing Jack White, seeing his band, like the musicianship there is there for them. Like they can play their shit. So it was fun to see. I enjoyed it. You thought it was okay?
Yeah, it was fine.
So we'll see it again. Maybe we'll, maybe we won't. I don't know. I would like to see Jack White again, see the experience. I get what you're saying from a different vibe, different perspective. I think that'd be fun. But who knows? Maybe we'll see him again. Maybe we won't. All in all, it was a perfectly fine evening. Not the worst evening by any means.
Oh, no.
Not the best by any means, but a perfectly good show.
Yeah, it was a good, different experience than what we've seen before. So
not the thing we typically go to, not a metal show, but still a good show all around. It was something new for us. Highly recommend going out, finding just trying something new out that you haven't done and seeing if you enjoy it. If you like it, great. If you don't, great, for next time. So as long as it's live music, as long as you're having fun, go fucking do that. And, hopefully there's many more shows for you ahead.
Yeah. Thanks for listening, everybody. Bye.